Okay, people, I want to share this because I feel that it's very important that this information be shared, because a lot of people likes to think that Dane Calloway is lying about the whole indigenous people. Well, let me give you guys my background. I'm from Tennessee, Nashville, Tennessee, and I was always told that we were indeed Indians. And I remember going to school in 4th grade. We was in Miss Crook class at was it Chadwell, Caldwell? I went to both, either or. And we was talking about like nationalities at the time. Well, we end up talking about nationalities, and I was, I told the class, yeah, I'm Indian, this, that, and other. And, the teacher was like, oh, no, ma'am, you're not Indian. You're too dark and your hair is too coarsy to be an Indian. And, they showed us what an Indian looked like. So, everybody in the class was like, because it's predominantly black kids coming from East Nashville. And, they was like, oh, my grandmama said we was Indian, or my mama said. So it was like, oh, wow. So the bus ride home was about the elders not knowing what they're talking about, because, we was just told that we are not Indians in no shape, form, or fashion. So with that being said, who did we believe? The teacher. Well, as I had gotten older, and my grandma still always said these things. Even, when I come to school and, I had to say stuff about the slave trade and stuff like that was told. Elders didn't have no knowledge of the whole ship boats and all that stuff of being brought in. So it just, make you think, well, maybe their parents didn't tell them or something, like, boom. It wasn't like no thought into it. So, as I got older, I'm doing my research, and I was going to the National Archives and everything. One of the elders in my family was labeled as copper. My grandmother's mother, they don't have any records of her. So I was doing this research and on my family, and it kept coming up. Was it south of North Carolina or whatever? So I'm confused, because I'm like, no, my people are from Tennessee. Well, as I do my research, and I did, yeah, Tennessee is where I come from, but Tennessee was a part of North Carolina or south of North Carolina, however you say it. But when the maps come up, Georgia was always Georgia, and it was North Carolina, either North Carolina, South Carolina was on the bottom of Georgia, and then South Carolina was on the top. However, Georgia was in the middle of the two. And it threw me for a loop, because it's an older map, and I came across it in the national in the art library archives. So it kind of, I was confused for a while, because I'm like, why does this say North Carolina? Well, as I done more research, I end up like I just told you guys, I end up finding out that this was a part of North and South Carolina, and different things like that. This didn't start to be Tennessee, which is Tennessee is named after the Indian tribe, but Tennessee ended up, I believe Franklin was supposed to be like the capital of Tennessee. So before they started colonizing the way they did, it was all one. So, you know, that right there should give you guys a good idea of when they say Indians, and when you coming from the Tennessee, the South, when you coming from the South, and they want to make you think, oh, this was a heavy slave area, because this was, it was predominantly, it had like plenty of black Indians here before they got here. Mississippi is another, plenty. Also, they had Memphis labeled as Egypt, and I'm like, whoa, what the world? And that's in the Grand Canyon. The Grand Canyon was where they was doing the gold mounds, the gold mining, and so they got us looking to Africa for some stuff that's right here, and we thinking that America is richer than Africa any day in gold. It was just, you know, the more research you do, the more you find out that, hey, these motherfuckers lied to me. So, and then it makes no sense. Why do they have us looking to Africa for something that's here? Like, why are they here and they are oppressing and they taking over here, but they not in Africa doing that shit, you know? Because this land here is the land of milk and honey. This is the land of, this is Africa. They want to make you think that this is not, this is, and you are the indigenous people. They changed the maps intentionally. If you find the older maps, they have changed these maps. The naming of you know, what they call the states today. Alabama is another one. Alabama is a black area. Those black people was tricked out their land. They put them on the money, is how they tricked them out of their land. And those indigenous people there, you know, it's just horrible. It's just horrible. Georgia is still predominant indigenous area. So California, you know, they say like, oh, those niggas up north, they smarter niggas, because they still pretty much in their heritage. Because if you know, they still know, hey, we had a black king, which was a woman, King Khalifa. They still pretty much got their heritage, you know. So with that being said, I can remember when I was younger and Africans started to move in the Nashville area, and you know, my grandma used to, you know, they used to say like, ooh, honey, they got them damn Africans. Them, you know, they always had something to say about the Africans, and they always made a difference between the two. And like, they never wanted to get it, regardless of what they showing them today about our people. Even though we was in the hood years ago, well, you know, when they started putting black people in the projects, you know, studying them as they project, swindling them out of land and putting them into the project compounds. You know, our people was very intelligent. They all carried themselves well. Everyone was clean. You know, growing up, you know, everyone had their homes, and you know, it took you time to get down the street to go to visit someone, you know, because, you know, people had land and things. And you know, when I was coming up, I'm only 33 right now, so it's not that long ago. So with that being said, like police and things like that, like police wasn't popular. I remember when something go on in the neighborhood, people fought and got it over with. Like, it wasn't no calling the police. Everyone came out, so and so them into it, break it up, go home, boom. That was it. It wasn't no everybody knew everybody. It wasn't no like it is today. The police ride through there, everybody looking like, look at the police like, what the fuck you want? But see, when they started putting black officers in their organization, and the black officers grew up in the hood or know someone, so the officers are started coming to the hood and talking, playing cards and stuff like that. So they had tactics, and they studied our people, and they know they could get into them communities until, you know what I'm saying, they had to put a black face in there. So with that being said, the drug epidemic, when it hit Nashville in the 80s, it hit pretty bad, and a lot of our people was forced, either traffic stops or just some type of encounter with police. You hear a lot of elders say, oh, the police made me snort coke, or they shot me up with this, or whatever. So the police would get our people in their possession, and infect them with the drugs, and then they call a war on drugs. That's something else that was done to our people, especially in the Black Panther Party and things like that. Things that when they take them people to the alleyway, they ain't only beating their ass, they injecting them, they making them do some shit that will, get them addicted and things like that. So, that was another thing that was talk when I was coming up about what police was doing with the drugs and things like that. So, a lot of people was on drugs by default. So these young people today that's running around here on drugs and doing these drugs and stuff, that's a choice. No one is forcing you to do these things. That's an absolute choice, and I don't feel sorry or have compassion for those individuals that choose to further assassinate. Well, you're killing yourself, and you're killing our people, and you're bringing less value to the indigenous people, which, as they work so hard to tear us down, they work so hard to do all that they have done to keep us blind, to keep us asleep, and not actually know who we are. So with that being said, people, I'm going to get on here and figure out how to post these maps and everything that I found. I'm gonna try to put a lot of my information on here, so that you guys can see exactly what I'm talking about. But I do thank the brother Dane Calloway, because for a long time, when I was telling people, like when they was always arguing about this out of Africa, having these Africa debates, and I'm like, hey, but my people say that we are Indians, we are indigenous people. So I was looking into the Moor movement for years, because I was like, yeah, I'm indigenous, and so I gotta be a Moor. And I was telling my mom them about the Moors, that it is, that it that. And so it wasn't until I spoke with my great uncle, Uncle Charles. He's still living, and I was asked him about our family line, and my grandmother is strictly indigenous, but my uncle, he's very light because he's mixed. His father is white, so he said from his understanding, he always been Indian and white. And my grandmother has always been an Indian, a black woman. He said, but the term changed to black. I was asking him, is he familiar with copper? And he was like, yeah. He was like, Mom on them would have been labeled copper colored, but as time go on, the terms change. So we black, and they say African American now. I heard this, that, and other. So the elders just thinking, oh, it's still Indian, the term just changed. No, that's not what's happening, people. So I'm almost to my destination, and I'm about to drop my son off, but I'll keep you guys informed and in touch, because I actually recorded my uncle, and I'm gonna be posting the recordings when speaking with my elder and things like that. So y'all have a good day.